What kind of political signal does it send to Washington, do you think, Mr. Paul?
Well, in Washington, we've suspected this facility was under operation for quite some time, and we take the idea that they've announced that it's operating as a effort to promote some objective, whether it's to get the kind of talks that the United States has just engaged with in Iran to provide resources and an end to sanctions for North Korea, or it's just to mark the anniversary of the founding of the DPRK. It's all rather unclear from here.
What about you, Professor Kim, from South Korea? What kind of message do you think Seoul has received after, not long, in fact, after the border disputes and the relatively high-level talks between the two sides?
I know, it's a very unfortunate to hear that, but that is not the complete surprise, because there has been suspicions that they still do the provocations. There's possibility. I think still have chance, but this is the big message to South Korea. They're telling us this is the, so in a way, Korea is the only channel they have right now is official channel. And all the interaction between US, China, Korea, and Korea, US. And they're telling them, we are here. They're rattling the cage. Don't forget me. If you forget me, we'll be dangerous.
I see. Professor Chung, how dangerous can DPRK be? I mean, you've been traveling to DPRK, yes, in fact, over the past few months, and also was at some of the important political events there in the country with the invitation from the country's leader. So what do you make of this?
I think the two questions should be dealt in this dialogue. One, the DPRK has every right to launch their satellite for any nation, such as around the world, around the orbit, more than 1,000 satellites, half of them from United States launched. And why not? Why the world includes, particularly the United States government, challenging the DPRK right, natural right to launch their satellite? And the second question, who is provocative? Is this DPRK or the United States? Since the Korean War, US has never stopped threatening this small 24 million population nation with the nuclear war, and why the world is not questioning the US power.
Well, do you think, Mr. Paul, Washington wants to answer those questions?
Well, I was active in the US government at the time when we removed the last tactical nuclear weapons that might have been in the South in Korea. We've signaled repeatedly since 1992, 94 and onward that we pose no nuclear threat. Repeated that as late as 2008 when the six-party talks fell apart. So I think this is just a wrong-headed notion that we somehow are continuing to press a nuclear threat. It's the argument from the North is that no matter where the U.S. is, anytime, anywhere, as long as it has nuclear weapons somehow, that's a nuclear threat to North Korea. This is on the face of it an absurd position.
But Mr. Paul, if I could, may I just follow up by asking you, it is not at all any secrets anymore that the DPRK has certainly developed certain kinds of nuclear weapon capabilities. And therefore, your allies, I mean US allies, South Korea, Japan, are all in the neighborhood of DPRK, and the DPRK leader has been this time also hinting in one of his announcements, suggesting if US wants to talk directly and address the needs of DPRK, things could be different, even about the satellite launch. Do you think Washington is getting the message? Or is Washington so busy now with everything else and not really interested in looking at Pyongyang anymore?
We got the message many times. Excuse me, this is the 10th anniversary this week of the agreement the North signed to get rid of its nuclear weapons in exchange for a lifting of sanctions and certain benefits. And North Korea reneged on that agreement. When it was time to negotiate inspections to make sure they would keep the agreement, they were unready to do so. So Washington has extended its hand repeatedly. The Obama administration has, to my knowledge, 5 times trying to reach out to North Korea the way it did to Tehran. and each time its hand has been slapped away by Pyongyang.
I see. Well, Professor Kim, it seems that Washington is not necessarily, at least according to Dr. Paul, about the future prospect of getting closer to Pyongyang and have a talk of certain sort. Does Seoul feel threatened?
Yeah, Korea is trying to have a negotiation and bring the North Korea to negotiating table, but we don't have a power to push U.S. to bring to the table. But at this time, the most probability is resuming the six-party talks. But for six-party talks, there is another hurdle that North Korea wants to resume North Korea only for nuclear reduction or disarmament, arms reduction between nuclear state. And South Korea and especially U.S. wants to focus on this only on the denuclearization of North Korea. It's a big gap between them.
We're going to come back to Mr. Paul about that big gap, but for now, let me come to you. We've been seeing, you personally have been seeing, even participating at a certain level about preparation for six-party talks at various years. But this time, it's another warning coming from Pyongyang. This is interesting timing, I have to say, because this is right after the possible deal between Iran and the United States were being made public to the rest of the world. This is also only 1 week between before the very first state visit of Chinese President Xi Jinping, believed to be ally of the DPRK for some time, I mean, for China, 6 decades already, going to the United States. What do you think about this timing? What kind of message do you think China has got?
The timing point is very tricky, there might be a possibility for the coincidence, with the coming state visit of our president, and also the coming date, as Douglas Paul just mentioned, tomorrow, the 10th anniversary of the agreement, September 19, reached 10 years ago. Our institute is going to have a conference in Diaoyutai Hotel tomorrow afternoon. So this is a very tricky timing for the DPRK to announce publicly about its development. But I don't think this is the only reason to show their determination
so
to China,
to
the United States. Actually, the main purpose for such a public announcement is to attract some countries' attention, especially the United States. Obama's administration has adopted so-called strategic patience strategy toward DPRK because so far, I think Obama has already completely lost, his interest in the DPRK nuclear issue. So, by using, the nuclear bomb or the rocket or missile satellite testing, that might, attract the attention from countries concerned.
Is six-party talks possible still?
No, I don't think so, because some countries, just waiting for their counterparts. For example, we talked to the U.S. Counterpart, especially experts and scholars, even officials. They said this time China also has adopted, a strategic patient policy toward DPRK.
Has China?
So I don't think so. This is actually a game played by the countries concerned because the key players are the United States and the DPRK.
All right, I have to come back to you because Dr. Paul, everybody agrees the U.S. has to be a key player in the next rounds of whatever many-party talks. So is it possible? Can the U.S. lower down its barometer and say, yeah, let's do some reduction of massive weapons on both sides rather than the preconditions that you have raised from Washington for Pyongyang?
Well, I very much doubt that that's possible. The U.S. Preconditions, or what they call pre-steps, are simply a reiteration of what was agreed by North Korea 10 years ago, that it would commit to denuclearization and would not develop other kinds of weaponized forms of nuclear weapons and delivery systems. And it would be very difficult to hold a political consensus in the United States if we somehow drop those concerns and try to renegotiate them all over again. We've already had that negotiation. It's time to move on. North Korea doesn't want to. It wants to have the terms on its own agenda and won't even go back to what it had previously agreed to.
I see. Professor Kim, though, you see your American counterpart seems to be not necessarily interested in pushing anything forward with much strength. We all understand that President Obama already got a lot of tasks on his hand. The Iran deal has not been yet passed the Congress. So what do you think South Korea can do? I mean, for the benefits of your country, for the safety of your country, and also for the reunification plan that your president has been talking about, at least over the past few years.
Yes, I think in this situation, as you said, United States doesn't have any motivation to lead on, take initiative. At this time, South Korea is the only country who tried to resume the talks. For the last 1.5 years, I heard from this high official in Korean Unification Department. It's called Korea Formula. Okay, try to gather 5 countries to have a preliminary meeting to have some kind of solution to bring North Korea to the table. They're trying, but I don't think unless U.S. agrees to lower the bar, there is a slim possibility. But Korea is trying anyhow.
Preliminary meeting, is it possible, Professor Chung, coming from your judgment, talking to the North Korean side? And also, may I just follow up by saying, it seems that not many people are interested in the next round of whatever discussion. So what can Pyongyang do?
I think no matter what, who does what in this whole scheme, in this whole game, unless U.S. changes its attitude, not only to Korea, but to China, to Russia, to Syria, to Iran, any nation on earth, unless U.S. changes its, as scholarly speaking, imperial ambition, as long as there's imperial ambition by United States, there's no peaceful resolution will come to this peninsula and Northeast Asia and around the world.
I see. Mr. Tang, Chinese President Xi going to the United States very soon. Will Korean Peninsula peace and stability once again be on the agenda?
Sure, I think this is a very important area for the cooperation between China and the United States. At least, in recent 20 years, the two countries have had a very good cooperation in this regard. And China has been a mediator and established the forum, the platform for the other 5 countries to come to Beijing and sit down. And actually, to my knowledge, though the former 6 parties talk, has not been resumed, but I think the contact among the countries concerned, especially at some official level, has been there for many decades. They tried the best to find a way get out of the dilemma now.